Karma Yoga is not about perfection. Karma Yoga is also a journey. Karma Yoga involves different layers of maturity. We start from maybe a selfish attitude in which still the main focus is on ourselves, and we may decide to to do to make to help a community, for example. We are not completely satisfied with the fact that we are just earning money, or we are in a successful life. We may decide to to help a community or to do some social work. This is, I would say, the first step of Karma Yoga, working a formal work in a community. But then there is a deeper significance of Karma Yoga, which means acting with awareness in any moment. It's a way of acting in which it's not just that now I have my job and then in the end of my job I go to do 2 hours of service in a community or whatever. This is, of course, a good step, but then you realize that Karma Yoga is about expressing this depth of our being, creating a coherence in all our life, and then we realize that every moment becomes uh, Karma Yoga, since in any moment we express ourselves. Expressing ourselves consciously is Karma Yoga. Actually, in Hridaya, we define Karma Yoga as yoga done with awareness, detachment, and love. We'll speak about many features of a Karma Yogi, but I would say that these are the 3 pillars: awareness, detachment, and love. We know the Oriental concept about karma, that karma is a law of action and reaction, and usually we are just caught in reactivity, in doing, and then some things are happening to us and we are acting according to our patterns, according to our limitations, with our subconscious tendencies, and this is not freedom. And this is what creates karma. Learning how to act so that this karma will not continue to be created is the very topic of Karma Yoga. And here we have this idea of acting with detachment. With detachment. That means a detachment. A detachment from what? A detachment from action, a detachment from the fruits or from the results of our action. A detachment from the idea of being the doer. A detachment from this selfish attitude. In India, for example, there is an affirmation, Hari Karta. God is the one who acts. Naham Karta. I am not the doer. God is the doer. So it is this sense of acting with transparency, with a detachment, and we find this in many traditions. In any spiritual tradition, actually, this is expressed. For example, this spirit of Karma Yoga is mentioned in Taoism. They have this expression of Wei Wu Wei, acting without acting. Wei Wu Wei is this concept of acting with this transparency, of this lack of self-involvement, of ego involvement, and they say it's like acting exactly as a tree is growing, as the flowers are blossoming. Is not that selfish involvement, it's just a natural flow. This concept of sahaja karman, the natural action, appears in Bhagavad Gita and is a recommendation of Krishna. Act with this natural. attitude, in this naturalness, in this freedom. And thus the detachment comes. Suggesting this, for example, Hafez in the Sufi tradition has a beautiful saying. He said, the sun never says to the earth, you owe me. Look what happens with such a love. It illuminates the whole sky. So acting like the sun is acting it's such a powerful source of light and warmth, and still it's not that we are living only with the thought, oh, we owe this to sun. It's just a detachment there. It's an example of this detachment. It's such a, we depend so much on the sun, and still it's not that is there telling us adore me or devote yourself to me. I am the one which is the cause of your life. It's just this naturalness. So even if our actions are very important for others or whatever, the action of the sun is definitely much more important, and still there is this love Hafez is speaking about. There is this acting without acting. Jesus is saying the same in the Gospel of Matthew. He said, look at the lilies of the field, how they grow. They never toil, still not even Solomon was ever arrayed in such a way, with such a beauty. So that beauty of lily of the field, that naturalness is more profound than any human need for greatness or any personal attitude. There is a grace, transparency in the acts of realized being, and there should be, and we should open to this grace and naturalness in our actions. This sense of a joy in doing, not from doing, not from the results, but from doing. It is very important now when we refer to ourselves. It would be very important to meditate, to take some time to meditate. What is my relationship with work? What is my relationship with acting? Is a contraction, I am running away from hard work, or I have some ideas about how my work should be, and so on. Because ideally in karma yoga, there is no attachment to, not even to a kind of work. It's just this expression and radiance of the heart. It's just this passion and love and joy in acting, having the sense that everything is important and everything is just beautiful, in keeping this purity of our intention. Now, people may try to find the perfect act, the perfection in an act. But an act, since is this world and this Shakti, is still relative. So don't look for a perfection or an absolute truth in the work that you have. And this is an important idea. The absolute truth exists, but it refers to the heart, it refers to the spirit. Here, when we are acting, it's still a relativity. For example, I may want to clean a room. This is my karma yoga. Cleaning a room. And I can try to go into this perfection. And what would mean the perfection of cleaning a room? You know, it can be not to have not a piece of dust there, which of course would require a lot of time and actually is hardly possible. Or we go in this common sense. We go in this not a superficial way, but in a way in which we feel that this is correct, in a way in which we feel that this is in tune with our sense of a proper action there. Another example, even Bhagavad Gita, which is a sacred text based mostly on this karma yoga, or fundamented on this recommendations, because Krishna is simply in doubt: should I fight against my relatives, because that was a war between relatives basically, and thus to create a lot of tension and confusion, or should I not do this? And of course you have reasons for both of them. You can find arguments for both of them. And Krishna says, no, act, because this is in accordance with the Dharma. This is how the harmony, you feel that this is what needs to be done. It's this truth. You feel that this is an expression of truth. But the problem is that sometimes the truth is not so obvious in this relative world, because yes, Arjuna is a hero, and in general and here in Bhagavad Gita, a hero is the one who sacrifices his life, or is ready to sacrifice his life, so he's ready to go beyond his personal self and limitations in acting. So it is, this heroism is an example of karma yoga. But it's interesting that there are heroes on both parts of the army. So it's not always so easy to say they are wrong and they are good. Everybody may come there with pure intention. Everybody may come, both armies may come with a strong belief. And then what is the truth? Well, both may have, in such a struggle or fight, may have their relative truth. And both can be, I mean, on one hand and the other, can be heroes, can be people who simply are able to go beyond their personal fears and dedicate to that ideal. And still, this remains, or these are people, if, of course, there is an authenticity there. They, let's say, both aim to protect their country, or they want to go in truth which is in connection with their nation or with a higher truth for them. It's still a pure intention, but it's still relative. There is a nice story which speaks about the attitude in which we are practicing karma yoga and the attitude of work. It is said that in the medieval time there were three brick masons, and they were asked what they were doing. And one answered, I am building a wall here. The other said, well, I'm working to earn some money to support my family. And the third one said, I am building a cathedral. So, of course, it is more beautiful to have this whole vision. It's something that if you think just, I am just building a wall, or if you think that you are acting for a higher purpose or for something which is very inspiring. So our mental attitude is important. But even a cathedral is not the absolute truth. Yes, a cathedral is a beautiful thing, but still it's something relative. A cathedral may be a ruin, may become a ruin after 1,000 years or 10,000 years. It will be a ruin. So it's not the absolute truth. In our heart, that purity of our intention, that honesty, that truthfulness, acting in truthfulness, in connection with that. In this world, there is a relativity. And in this world, we cannot speak about an absolute, perfect action. But we can speak about an expression coming for a perfect, pure, transparent truth, reality. And then, of course, we start acting without acting. We start acting in this naturalness. We start acting in this grace. There is a grace in the and the transparency in the actions of a realized being. So don't stay in the mind trying to find the best action, or considering that one action is more relevant than another. Is this room that I'm supposed to clean the highest purpose, and how I fulfill the highest purpose just cleaning this room? It's still relative, but the purity of our intention is what matters. Otherwise, we just get lost in our mind, and we say, I don't want to clean rooms, I prefer only to work in administration. Actually, Mahatma Gandhi was an example of a karma yogi, of acting in this complete detachment. And it's also relevant the fact that he was constantly reading Bhagavad Gita every day, and while acting he was repeating Ram, the name of God. And when the message of Gandhi started spreading, many people, intellectuals, came to Indians to support him. And often he would send them to clean toilets. Because it's important to start with that humbleness. It's not that I'm so good in writing articles, or we should go in that. In karma yoga is not about this efficiency of the mind. There is an efficiency, but is an efficiency coming from this transparency of the heart, from this purity of the heart. And in the beginning, that's why I'm saying that there is a need of a spiritual maturity. In the beginning, it is hard to have this connection with the heart all the time. And we prefer to be said, the master is telling you, you should clean the room. And then it's no problem. It's so easy. I cleaned the room because this was what my master said, or what the community said. So I just follow something which is a spiritual authority, or authority which for me makes sense, and then I can go easily in that action. But the problem is that at a certain point you'll need to act by yourself, not only when your guru is telling you, or not only when somebody else is telling you. And here the need for this discernment and this purity of the heart and this transparency cannot be uh, avoided. So sooner or later, even though yes, it's easier to be said, and to sooner or later there should be this discernment, and there should be this this way of this wisdom of assuming and then realizing, yes, in this world I'm not only about giving or meditating or giving nice discourses, it's also about cleaning toilets. And this is beautiful. And this is very okay. And this is beautiful because it's done for the benefit of others, it's done for this love, is done in this sense of togetherness. Even this action, as we said, sometimes we have in the morning this remembrance. Let's remember the reason for which we are here, as a way of starting the day. Remember, when we do the consecration, sometimes some of you are saying this, let's remember the reasons for which we are here. Yes, it's a way of referring to and starting the day and purifying our motivation, but still this is relative. I wouldn't say this, we are here for offering or for creating the conditions to develop this yoga center and meditation center, and because still this is a projection. I am here just in this simplicity, in this availability. It is just a love for human beings. I don't have a projection how the things will unfold. Of course, we envision, but we at the same time, we keep this humbleness and this openness. So I would say the motivation force wouldn't be just think how great these things will be, because this can bring an entitlement. I'm here for building a cathedral, it's like yes, I'm here for such a beautiful purpose, for helping human beings, is for the benefit of human beings. And at the same time, who am I? At the same time, understanding that it's such a so irrelevant in that emptiness, in that wholeness, in that eternity reality. So it's a paradoxical attitude I'm speaking about, and it's always this paradox when we are referring about manifestation, about Shakti and Shiva, consciousness and manifestation, is this absolute truth and the relative truth. You cannot find the absolute truth in manifestation. You just can express that absolute truthfulness of your heart, of that ultimate reality. You can express that, but not just staying in that entitlement or being so happy with what you did. And thus the humbleness comes, and thus the detachment comes. As I said, it's a paradox. It's humbleness, you have full enthusiasm, you are full on in that, and still there is this sense of nothingness, of humbleness, of transparency. Otherwise, there are people who have good intentions, but they end up, for example, the activism. Usually in activism, people are coming with a good cause. They have good intentions, but then they get attached to the results. They get attached to the idea that the things have to happen the way they want, or the way, because this is true, because I don't know what kind of companies are destroying the earth and are doing so, and this is true. But while we are acting, there should be a surrender, a transparency. And this will bring efficiency, the real efficiency. Otherwise, we are overwhelmed. Sooner or later, fighting with these big structures and companies, we get overwhelmed. We may get overwhelmed. It's too much. It's too. I am exhausted, and then you need to run away. And this is happening also in some community. That's why I said even today in our meeting, our purpose is not to be to have a deadline and to reach that kind of goal in that amount of time. Of course, we have plans and we have vision, but it's very much about our wisdom to learn how to not be overwhelmed. There are many very important tasks or urgent tasks, and still, and I'm saying because we had this experience in Mazunte, sometimes people get overwhelmed. And then it's just about stepping back and saying, here we don't have a boss, we don't have somebody who is pressing us, you have to do this in that amount of time, or is this efficiency in doing that, but it's about learning how to do, how to act in that continuous joy without feeling overwhelmed. And this is the spirit of Karma Yoga. That's why Mother Teresa, for example, said, I do not ask for success, I ask for faithfulness. I do not ask for success, I ask for faithfulness. Because if there is this faithfulness, the spirit is kept. And then the things are flowing, and then the real efficiency is. Because for example, in the activism, you emphasize these good causes, but in this, it can be a good result, or it may not. And still, if it is not, we have this detachment and the perseverance to continue again and again and again. There is this, in the heart, there is this connection with an infinite source. And this brings the real efficiency. Not just pushing and coming with a lot of enthusiasm for 1 month, but then feeling exhausted and feeling, oh, I love this project, but I feel like running because it's too much for me. It's just exhausted. Then what? Then it's about learning. It's about our wisdom to manage ourselves, to manage ourselves in our community. So in our community, as in many communities, people are coming with good intentions. We are coming here in order to transcend the old paradigms, just this selfish attitude, and to learn to love each other more, to live in truthfulness, to live in this beauty. Sometimes it happens that in spite of these good intentions, people, they say, well, this was just an ideal. It is not possible, because still, you see, it's just this selfishness and this jealousy, and it's like this and like that. I am strongly convinced that it's not so. I'm strongly convinced, and we have the example already in the community in Mazunte, that we can learn more and more. And we can go deeper in expressing this truth of our being, and these beautiful ideas, and the purity of our intentions, understanding that The actions may not be perfect now, but understanding that there is a need to refine, and this refinement comes always from this reconnection with the heart, constantly coming back, constantly remembering, I'm not the doer, who am I? And from that stillness, from that love, the action comes with grace and freedom. Regarding intention is also, we can speak about this purity of intention, which is an important topic. For example, in the Kashmir Shaivist tradition, they speak about three energies. Fundamentally, there are three energies. The energy of intention, Icha Shakti, the energy of knowledge, Jnana Shakti, and the energy of action, Kriya Shakti. This is in connection with the creation of the universe, and is in connection with any, so we can see it at the cosmic scale, and we can see it as the personal scale. Any action or any activity that we have involves first an intention. And the classical example in Shaivist tradition, the Shaivist tradition is the painter, the creator, yes, the artist wants to paint. So the intention comes. I want to paint, to make a painting. So the intention is first there. Then it comes the knowledge. I'm starting thinking. I would like to have a painting with some trees, and so we start thinking and elaborating how the things will happen. And then we have the action. We start drawing and painting that. And of course, in drawing, some inspiration can come, and the refinement can come, and you may change your plans a little bit, and so on. But these three energies and these three phases are present in any action: intention, knowledge, and action. Now, what is happening with humanity is that we, in our civilization, developed a lot skills for acting in a more efficient way. We developed a lot also the management. We now know how to plan, how to think, how to make a project, how to design something. So beautiful tools in designing. So jnana, this knowledge, how to do, it's a science in how to do things, how to manage things. So many books about this. There are also a lot of tools in action, so kriya, the action, but there is not almost at all emphasis in this intention. And this is the problem, because we lack this essential initial impulse, the purity of our intention, how to keep this purity of our intention. That's why sometimes people start with the purity of their intention, but then sometimes, somewhere on the way, they lost this connection with their heart. And then they have beautiful skills, they have a lot of knowledge, management, but they lose that purity. They lost that purity of their intention. So karma yoga is remaining about remembering that faithfulness, as Saint Teresa, Mother Teresa said. We pray for faithfulness. We pray for that purity of intention. And then, from that, the real success will come. The real efficiency will come. Sometimes I read, sometimes teachers are saying that karma yoga means to act, to obey what was that with humbleness. And if, for example, you are supposed to clean the lobby there, and then somebody enters and makes dirt, you should sweep again, or you should clean again. And then if somebody else comes again, you should, because this is your job, and you should do it with dedication. And it's true, but I would say it's also part of karma yoga to to think and to put a sign, please take your shoes off. So it can be so simple. It's not that you are supposed to sweep all the because this is your work, and this is, sometimes karma yoga is seen in this way. Simplify, don't think about some other things, because you are supposed to just work with detachment and do mechanical work. Karma yoga is not about acting in a mechanical way. Karma yoga is also about using your intelligence, about using your creativity, while keeping this transparency, while learning more and more about this detachment.